Autism is a developmental disability that affects communication and social interaction. It often pairs with repetitive, stereotyped movement, resistance to change, and sensory needs. According to the DSM-5, in order to be diagnosed with ASD, a person must have deficits in social-emotional reciprocity, nonverbal communicative behavior, and building relationships, along with at least 2 of the following restricted patterns of behavior: stereotyped or repetitive motor movements, insistence on sameness, highly restricted fixated interest, and hyper or hypo-reactivity to sensory input. I have personally experienced and learned throughout this course many characteristics of autism. The few that are the most prevalent are communication needs, sensory needs, and social-emotional needs. On top of that, they can struggle with academics, but not always. With all of these needs combined, students with ASD can show maladaptive behaviors. I can meet these needs in a variety of ways. For example, I can implement ABA-based interventions such as the 3-term contingency to address these behaviors. I can also provide sensory-friendly items such as fidgets, weighted vests or blankets, flexible seating, and more. I would also legally meet the needs of ASD students by following their IEP. Although students with ASD have areas of concern, it is important to note that they have many positive attributes as well. People with autism are very good at following routines and thrive on structure. Many students with autism are very knowledgeable about things that interest them. I once had a 2nd grade student who knew every flag to every country you could even imagine, and he knew all of the moons in our solar system. Some students with ASD are twice exceptional, and about half the population of savants have ASD. As I mentioned before, there are many ABA-based resources I can use to support students with autism. Along with ABA practices, there are evidence-based practices that I can use with my ASD students. I will use these practices to ensure students are getting the highest quality education possible. The Model Code of Ethics for Educators states that professional educators demonstrate competence by acting in the best interest of all students by increasing students' access to the curriculum, activities, and resources in order to provide a quality and equitable educational experience. I interpret this to mean that it is important for educators to use evidence-based practices to present content that includes social skills, academics, behavior supports, and communication supports. The Ohio Department of Education encourages educators to be empowered by evidence, which means using evidence-based practices to support students with diverse learning needs. One way in which my understanding for my responsibilities in advocating for the students has changed is that I realize how important it is to understand families' perspectives on autism before assuming anything. For example, some families strongly believe in certain therapies, and some families believe their child's ASD should be embraced. It is imperative to respect whichever belief they have while also providing appropriate resources and services. To go along with that, it is important to have cultural competence and be respectful of the social issues the families may be dealing with.